Disney is known as a dream job for many people,
But we are here to tell you what cast members won't
tell you
about what it's actually like to work at the Disney theme parks. Starting up first, Disney is not going to be a moneymaker for like 90% of the people who work there. Yes, if you're Disney CEO Bob Iger, you might make like $66 million or whatever. Most of you, it's not going to be a big moneymaker. And that's really where a lot of the questions start out, is how much money are you going to make? It does vary depending on your position and your role, but roughly based on online sources, the average is about $15 to $16, give or take. That does all depend on what your role is, how long you work, what you're doing for the company, and just basically your level within the company. So if you're just a normal cast member versus if you are a day shift leader, a manager, a leader, all those good things, that's going to impact how much you make at the parks, just like any other job. And if you're anything like me or Fry Bucket, you're actually going to end up giving back like 70% of that money because you're going to be spending it on merchandise, food, special tickets. Not a huge moneymaker, unfortunately.
In addition to not making a ton of money, you need to be prepared for long, tough hours. For many cast members, even if you're part-time, you can expect to work upwards of 40 hours a week during busy seasons. Most weeks, I was working anywhere from 50 to 60 hours, which isn't overall bad, but if you're expecting a typical 40, you won't find that here. A lot of times, you also might experience a few different kinds of shifts, like closing shifts that end at 1 or 2 a.m. Clopens, when you close the park late at night and then open the park again the next morning. Split shifts with hours in the morning, a break in the afternoon, and another round of work at night. Or back-to-back shifts with almost no turnaround time in between. Plus, Disney operates 365 days a year, rain, shine, or hurricane warning. So you will be working on weekends, holidays, and during major crowd surges like spring break or the 4th of July. For a lot of people, especially young people on their DCP, or people who have never really been away from family on a holiday, this can be a really hard part of the job.
Speaking of those tough hours that she just talked about, it can actually be pretty tough on the body as well. That's one thing that a lot of people are pretty surprised to find out, is that this can actually be a very physically demanding job, and you might not think so. Of course, this is going to be specific to roles as well, but almost every single Disney role has a little bit of a physical aspect to it. You're working in the heat. Sometimes you are working in the rain. If it's not lightning, it's still going to continue to rain though. And if it's not too hard, they're going to let those rides run. They might not pull you in from your kiosk, and you might just be under a little umbrella. And then sometimes all of this is going to be over really long hours, especially if you have those double or back-to-back shifts. That's what's really the most physically demanding part that's going to touch almost every single cast member, is just how hot it is. Now, there are going to be days where you don't really feel that impact. December, January, February, an incredible time to work in the parks. June, July, August, not the best time to work in the parks. That is when I worked in the parks. I had just turned 20. And I lost 10 pounds the summer I worked there because I was sweating so much. I didn't change anything else about my life, just the fact that I worked outside in the park. Like it's very physically demanding just kind of existing outside in Orlando, which you might know if you've been there on vacation. Then toss that into your job. In addition to just being outside in Florida heat, which not every single role is, sometimes those inside roles, whether you are at merchandise locations or at quick service locations, are going to be a little bit more physically demanding because you might be carrying full boxes of merchandise. You might have to haul around trays of food. There are just different things that you might not consider that are going to put a little bit of a strain on your body. You also do need to be perky and upbeat and all the exciting things the cast members are, and being perky and excited, while that might not seem like it might be demanding on you, in addition to how physically tired you might be toward the end of the shift, that is going to add an extra strain that you might not prepare yourself for.
Now, if you've seen any of our videos before, you know we love cast members. Absolutely love cast members. They make the parks as magical as they can be. They make your vacation even better, but it's also true that we are constantly noticing them on our trip and making our judgments of them, even if we don't mean to. Sometimes these judgments are positive, like they're so outgoing, they're so friendly, super helpful. Sometimes it also might mean that people are nitpicking their look, their perception of their attitude, or just how you perceive them overall. As a cast member, you're constantly expected to represent one of the biggest, most well-known brands in the entire world. And while that can be amazing, It can also be a big weight to carry. Everyone has bad days, and sometimes it's hard to be a cast member on those bad days when thousands of people are perceiving you all day long.
Repetitive tasks, that's something you might not really think about, and that's probably what they're not going to tell you. You're going to find yourself doing a lot of repetitive tasks if you are a cast member on the more lower levels. Of course, there are going to be, we could say this for every single thing, there's going to be exceptions, but in our experience, it's a lot of that. If you don't like doing the same thing over and over, the cast member life just might not be for you. For example, when I worked in quick service, I did a lot of the same tasks. I made a lot of the same coffees. I served a lot of the same drinks, beverages, all the good things. You just kind of find a rhythm and you start flowing into it. I'll be honest, I loved it. I loved the repetitive tasks. It made me feel confident in my job. It made me kind of know what to expect every single day. I knew what I was going to be doing. I genuinely really loved that. Not everybody is going to. You might get bored with it. You might not enjoy that repetitive task that you have to do constantly. If you're looking for a variety and a constantly changing job that is intentionally changing within your tasks, the cast member life might not be a life for you. For some, it's a big pro. For others, it can be a real drag. So you just kind of have to understand yourself and understand what you enjoy while you're at work.
Now, there are some surprisingly strict rules when it comes to being a cast member too. For entertainment cast members, don't call out for another gig. If you call out of work and go work somewhere else instead, and use the skills that Disney hired you for, they will fire you. And they will find out because everybody in Orlando, they talk. So don't even try it. No surprise, but if you're a character performer, you are always in character when on stage. You're expected to pick up trash no matter what your role is. Everyone is a custodial cast member, even Disney CEO Bob Iger. It helps keep the parks clean and well kept. They'll teach you that in your traditions class. Say it with me, we are all custodial. You are also expected to keep your company ID with you at all times when in costume. Lose it and you could be in real trouble. You also need to stick with the Disney lookbook. Now, reading verbatim from the Disney lookbook, this is what it is. Intentional body modification or alteration for the purpose of achieving a visible physical effect that disfigures, deforms, or similarly detracts from a professional image is prohibited. Examples include, but are not limited to, brands, body piercing other than ear piercings, tongue piercing or splitting, tooth filing, earlobe expansion, and disfiguring skin implants. Now let's talk about tattoos, because some of y'all had opinions in the last one. Visible tattoos are permitted with the exception of placement on the face, head, or neck. Tattoos must be no larger than the cast member's hand when fully extended with the fingers held together. Undergarments, which include matching fabric tattoo sleeves, are permitted for coverage of larger tattoos on the arms. Tattoos that depict nudity, offensive or inappropriate language or images, or violate company policies, including policies prohibiting discrimination and harassment based on race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, national origin, ancestry, age, disability, or any other protected category are not permitted. Whew. Yeah. So recently Disney kind of scaled back on their tattoo policy. Before it was no tattoos allowed, and now some tattoos are allowed if it meets all of those requirements that I just listed. Nails. Did you know that Disney is even strict on your nail polish color and what your nails look like? Nails should be clean. Polish is used. It should be the same on each nail and well manicured in one solid color or French manicure style. Charms or decals on nails are not permitted. Fingernails should not exceed 1/4 of an inch beyond the fingertip. And your leaders will check this often, especially when working in like food and beverage. They would check that all the time and they will say, fix it or you're not coming back to work. Hairstyles that are clean and well maintained represent the Disney brand. Hair length, including completely shaved styling, is at the cast member's discretion. Hair below shoulder length should be secured if it falls forward over the face or covers the name tag while working. If the hair color is changed, it should be well maintained and in natural occurring hues, meaning no crazy hair colors. It has to look natural, so brunette, blonde, strawberry blonde, black, orange, can't be pink or purple or blue. So overall, the Disney lookbook is a real thing. They will go over it and your leaders, wherever you are working, will constantly be checking on you to make sure you still fit all of those requirements.
Another thing that you might not consider and people won't necessarily tell you up front is that it can kind of feel like high school sometimes and not really in the most fun ways. Now, this one might seem a little bit nitpicky, and I get it, but this is a true dynamic for the Disney company as well as any other company you're probably going to work for. A lot of people have shared this sentiment over the years. When I worked there, I understood what people were saying, and while every single role is truly important in the Walt Disney Company, it wouldn't be there if it wasn't. There is kind of a social dynamic where some roles might feel more important than others. It can kind of make them feel like they're in the popular role or they're the the popular kids in school because they have a certain type of role. It's all perceived, just like high school popularity, which is kind of the whole point of this. Social dynamics actually play into any work environment that you're in, but you can definitely see it in the Disney company, especially on the DCP level, and even kind of working up into the full-time cast members at times, especially if they're very passionate about their work, which I think is exciting, and you should be passionate about your work, but sometimes it can kind of make things feel a bit cliquey or like a popularity contest. It is unavoidable. Like I said, you're gonna find it at almost any company that you work at. However, some companies are better for it, some companies are worse for it. It's just something to be aware of. Plus, with all those DCP kids, even if you aren't one, you might feel 18 again, sometimes in good ways and sometimes in bad ways. Again, this one is really more of like a perceived problem, and this is more social than anything. It's not actually with the company. It's just something that happens.
Okay, this is a big one that I want to talk about. Limited career advancement. When it comes to growing within the Disney company, it's long been understood that many people in management and leadership started at the bottom and worked their way up to the top. While that might be true for some, it isn't as true as it once was, unfortunately. If you are hoping to work your way up the ladder, there are a few things to keep in mind. These days, it is all about networking. A lot of the time, it's about who you know in the company. So network, network, network. Education can be important, and so can applying for different jobs within the company that you might even be 50% qualified for. Keep your resume up to date and adjust it for each role you apply for. And remember that a lot of people in the company also want to grow, so set yourself apart in positive ways while you network. Go to different events, speak to your managers, and do whatever it takes to stand out. But be careful not to be annoying or overbearing to your leadership. It's a fine line. I do have a personal example with this one. While I was on my DCP, I went to my leaders, my managers. They were great about making sure we all felt good about our careers and where we were going. And at the time, I thought I wanted to get into entertainment within the parks, not being the entertainment, but in leadership and production-wise. One of my managers got me into contact with the proprietor of Festival of the Lion King. I emailed him, and I actually had a meeting with the proprietor of Festival of the Lion King, and it was really cool. And there are so many people at Disney who want to help you. If you are a Disney cast member and you have access to roster, use it. That's all I'm gonna say. I feel like I should explain a little bit. Roster, it's in the Disney system. But basically, you can find people and their emails. It can't hurt to just send an email. I did it. It's fine. Just don't be annoying about it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Another thing that's common that people aren't necessarily like shouting from the rooftops is you're actually probably going to work for Universal and Disney, especially if you're there as a full-time or part-time cast member and not there on a Disney college program. So yeah, Universal and Disney are competitors, but they actually end up sharing a lot of the same employees, which you might not think of. Many cast members as well as many team members are going to work for Disney, they're going to work for Universal, and vice versa. Sometimes it just comes down to having a little extra pocket money, making sure their jobs work and working them together. And then sometimes it comes down to wanting both perks from both theme parks, because we are Team Universal and Disney here. Especially with Epic Universe opening, a lot of people have taken over working as a team member as well as a Disney cast member and vice versa, just because it's an exciting time to be with both parks. Both are changing a lot, and it is kind of nice to have the free perks to both.
Haha, this one is very funny. Okay, whenever Disney would release big news, my phone would start blowing up with questions or rumors from people I know asking for more details. And let me just say, I didn't have any. Okay, I was a cast member serving food at Docking Bay 7. Do you think I knew anything? No, I did not. I hate to break it to you, but they aren't telling the cast members scooping ice cream or mac and cheese, for my instance, about the big upcoming secrets within the company. When Disney announces the details to their biggest new projects like Piston Peak, Villains Land, Monstropolis, that is when most cast members find out too. It's actually kind of heartbreaking sometimes, because when I was a cast member, I found out, I'm gonna word this very carefully. There are some news sites that will find out inside scoops and post them before Disney says anything. And when I was a cast member, it happened a lot with a specific site. And now I tell people not to trust them, because they would just post rumors and everything would be false, and they would post things and cast members would see it and get really upset because Disney had not told them yet. Remember that the cast members do love their jobs, and so even when you're excited for new things that are coming, it can be sad for those cast members that work there. We never post anything before Disney does. We get our news straight from the source, straight from Disney themselves. Sometimes we have gotten an exclusive before, thank you to Disney. We'll never post anything that's just a rumor.
One thing that might kind of impact people, and you don't hear people explicitly say a lot, is the phrase, "we work while others play." So this is something that a lot of cast members kind of struggle with, especially those young DCP kids. I keep talking about DCP because that's my firsthand experience. It's something that a lot of people can struggle with, especially when they first start the job. Right after you kind of died down on the excitement and you're getting into, okay, this is my job. This is when that struggle kind of comes in. This essentially means that you are working while you are watching other people have the days that you dream about having. And this can kind of bring in a mixed bag of emotions. One, it is really, really exciting and really cool that you get to contribute to those days, you get to be a part of them, you get to make magical days, and you get to make unforgettable days for people. All of that is really wonderful. And then sometimes you're really gonna struggle because you're working and maybe you don't wanna work that day, which is normal, and you might not want to. And you're watching someone else have a dream day and you think, I wish that was me, I wish I wasn't doing this. That's a human emotion. For me, I genuinely found it so special and impactful, and I know I can say the same for Fry, to be a part of the company and to get to be involved in making those memories, and I felt fulfilled in that. Not everybody is going to be fulfilled by the same thing. Sometimes you might appreciate that you're getting to do that, but it still is not causing the emotion that you wanted it to cause, or it's not filling up your cup in the way you wanted it to fill up your cup. It's a little bit more complicated than just like, oh, I feel so grateful to be here. You probably do feel grateful to be there. In the same sense, you also might think, I really kind of wish I didn't know how they do that, or I wish I didn't have the curtain peeled back on the magic. Sometimes it's more fun to get to live in the fantasy of things rather than seeing how it's made. And that's really normal and natural. A lot of times Quincy and I will have little conversations about how they do certain things in the park. One example is Enchanted Tales with Belle. I love how they open up the magic mirror that you get to walk through. Quincy knows how it's done, and she's offered to tell me, and I don't want to know because I love the magic of it and I don't want that magic to be ruined. I literally had someone tell me one time that every time she went to work, a little bit of the magic died. That is a verbatim quote, and it's just because she got to see a little bit more of the hard sides of the company, or it took away from experiences that felt very magical and special for her. That's not a bad thing. It just is the truth. Like for some people, they say, don't mix work and pleasure, and that can absolutely apply here.
Okay, now here's some more of the fun stuff. It's not all bad. Oftentimes, Disney will have parties or events only for their cast members. And I'm telling you, this is the type of stuff that is so fun. For example, there was a week in July where they're doing a Christmas in July party at the Frozen sing-along stage, where Hollywood Studios cast members are invited to eat snacks, wear pajamas, and watch The Nightmare Before Christmas in the Frozen theater. They also played the Eras Tour movie in Muppet Vision 3D. That would have been so fun. I got to go to a 30th anniversary party for Hollywood Studios where they kept Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster opened after the park closed just for the cast members. They had cake, snacks, and sodas for us to enjoy while we celebrated the park that we worked in. And I mean, back in the day, they did those all the time, and there were special events. A lot of them, it's only for the park that you work at, so I couldn't go to the Magic Kingdom ones. I could only go to Hollywood Studios, but it was so fun. I've gotten to ride Rock and Roller Coaster with the lights on. I've gotten to ride Tower of Terror with the lights on. There was one time where Toy Story Land was the only land that was open, and we got these little, I need to bring all my stuff from my parents' house. I still have everything. Got these little tickets where you could ride each ride in Hollywood Studios once during that time that it was open. It was kind of like an after hours kind of thing. There's also something called Magic Backstage where it's like a raffle. You can enter in to win. I did not win one, but one of my roommates on my DCP won a tour of the Haunted Mansion. So she got to go through the Haunted Mansion, walk through the attraction, and that was just something fun that is in your little Disney account. Enter in those raffles and you might win some really cool stuff. They also will have cast previews for things before they open. Before Galaxy's Edge opened, they had cast previews. I was on opening team with Galaxy's Edge back in 2019. So I got to see that entire land as it was being built pretty much, because it was not finished when we first got into the land. We practiced making all the food, and the attractions cast members practiced having people on the rides. So many times our leaders would just say, hey, go ride the Falcon. They need people to ride the Falcon in practice. I probably rode Millennium Falcon 200 times before it actually even opened. I don't need to ride that ride ever again. One day, our leaders kind of surprised us. They basically said, hey, we need your help moving some boxes, so we're gonna take these boxes over to Savi's. We had no idea. So we pick up all these boxes, we take them over there, and then we basically walk into that room, and then they start. So we did the whole Savi's experience. Did not get to keep the lightsabers, but we got to be in there for that experience, have those actors practice with real people. So there's a lot of cool stuff like that where cast members get to have a little extra magic before things actually open to the public.
Now, in addition to those really cool, secret cast celebrations, you can also enter to win things like backstage tours, and you can literally win them. There's a whole thing called the Cast Member Hub. You may or may not have heard us talk about it before, and it essentially is where you're going to find your schedule, you're going to find different events, and you're going to find different drawings that you can enter. You can apply to do Disney yoga in front of the castle, which is a very famous event that they do. Sometimes they even will keep rides open late at night, and you can enter to be a part of that special experience. They're also going to do a lot of things like cast member previews. So anytime there is a new attraction or there's a new ride, you actually gotta get to sneak in and see it first. So for example, one that was really, really recent was the Test Track reopening. They did cast member previews. Even Tron, they did cast member previews. And one thing that's really cool about that is you can actually bring friends and family with you. You just get a certain allotted amount and you just put their information in and you all get to go. When Galaxy's Edge opened, I remember all my friends going to cast members previews. It was a huge deal, and they're going to continue to do that. And that's just a really neat little perk of being a cast member and something that you can participate in.
You can also make incredible friendships through being a cast member. Just like any job, your cast member location can introduce you to some of the funniest, smartest, and best friends you'll ever have. Not every friendship is going to be lifelong or attached at the hip, but the company is so large it will introduce you to people you might never have met before. You'll truly make some wonderful friends and might become a more well-rounded person because of it. Speaking from experience, I try to meet up with my friends who are still down in Orlando every single time that I go down there. It doesn't always work out, but we always try to eat at some kind of new restaurant or a new place to us whenever we go down there and meet up.
Another thing that people don't talk about all the time is all of that fun family park time with Disney. So if you don't already know, you can actually bring your family with you for free as a cast member to the parks. Now, it's not super simple. There are some things you have to do first, but that's a huge perk and something that people are not really talking about when they talk about being a Disney cast member. They really only talk about you being able to get into the parks. You can actually earn Disney family time with your own family and take them with you when you go into the parks. So the way that this works is after working so many hours, you earn what is called family passes. That allows you to bring your family with you into the parks. I know we utilized mine all the time, but I think it's so every so many hours. So I think you get some initially, you get some after so many hours, and so on and so forth. You have to earn those passes. It's not something you can just get. So if you're looking to go on a Disney vacation for free, don't get a job as cast member, use those tickets and then quit, because that's not how it's going to work. That being said, this is one of the best Disney perks to me as someone who had a family who loved coming to Disney World. Disney park tickets are not cheap, and so that was just a really nice, fun way that we could all enjoy the parks and get in together. Now, these tickets do require park reservations. They are non-date based tickets, and like I said, you do have to earn them, so it's not something that you can either just walk in and out of or abuse, to be honest. It's not something you can just have 1,000 of them. And fun fact, they have to be with you when they scan in. So you can't just take that ticket and then leave them. Something could happen. I had to be with my family every single time we went to the parks, and they had to scan in, and then they had to check my blue ID sometimes. Not every time, but almost every time.
Finally, what they might not tell you is you're gonna grow some thick skin, let me just tell you. You will not be the same person you were before you worked at Disney. Being a Disney cast member can be wonderful, but guests can also be tough. You've paid a lot for your vacation. It's hot, you're probably dehydrated, and I would bet you need some nutrition. That being said, why are we yelling at the cast members? We don't need to. There's never a reason when you need to yell at a cast member, trust me. In my personal experience, I was yelled at over the price of food on the menu, which I didn't decide. They don't pay me enough for that. Even had a woman threaten me because she couldn't find her husband and son. Yeah, not my fault you lost them. Also wasn't my fault when I asked, what do they look like? What are they wearing? And you said, how should I know? How am I supposed to help you? And because you're a Disney cast member, you just have to smile through it and take it. You can't really say what you really feel. In the moment, these experiences really helped me grow a thick skin, and it helped me to learn a lot about handling conflict. Before I worked at Disney World, I would avoid conflict at all costs, and now, not so much. Sure, it stinks, but I also learned so much about myself and what I want in a work environment. Plus, now I have fun stories to tell.
So there you have it. Those are the things they won't tell you about working at Disney, but we will. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We do videos like this almost every single day where we peel back the curtain on all the Disney magic, and we give you a lot of fun parks tips and tricks if that's something that you're looking for.
Now, if you're still here, please leave this secret code in the comments so that we know you stayed all the way. And don't forget to like the video. It really does help us out a lot. See you next time.